You've probably noticed it lately. A strange, heavy exhaustion that sleep just can't seem to fix. You wake up after a full night of rest, yet somewhere just beneath the surface, you feel entirely depleted. You might have blamed it on your workload, your diet, or the relentless pace of modern life. But deep down, in those quiet moments before you fall asleep, you know it isn't just physical. Something else is happening. You aren't just tired. You are being emptied. The fact that you found your way here right now is not an accident. There is a hidden architecture to your daily life, a silent current moving just out of sight, and right now, you are finally beginning to sense it. Most people spend their entire lives trying to fix this exhaustion on the surface level, never realizing they are trying to solve an invisible problem with physical tools. There is a quiet, continuous mechanism operating in the background of your days, and once you see what is actually taking from you, the way you experience your life will never be the same. We are taught to treat our bodies like simple machines. The logic seems undeniable. If the machine is running slow, it needs more fuel, better maintenance, or simply to be turned off for a while. So, when you feel that deep, lingering exhaustion, you try to fix it physically. You change your diet, you track your sleep, you drink more water, and you take weekends off to rest. But despite all these logical interventions, the heavy, invisible weight remains. You wake up on a Saturday morning after 9 hours of sleep, and almost instantly, that familiar, subtle weariness washes over you, leaving you feeling like you are moving through thick water. There is a profound difference between being physically tired and being spiritually drained. Physical fatigue feels like a natural completion, the satisfying end of a hard day's work, easily cured by a good meal and a deep sleep. But the exhaustion you have been experiencing lately feels different. It is an emptiness, a hollowness behind the eyes, a quiet weariness of the spirit that no mattress can cure. It is the feeling of having nothing left to give, even when you have barely moved all day. You have probably blamed yourself for this, mistaking this heavy inner state for laziness or a lack of discipline. The physical body you identify with is merely the densest layer of your existence. Surrounding and interpenetrating your physical form is a subtle, living architecture, a biofield of vibrant currency that holds the charge of your consciousness. Think of it less as an aura and more as a biological battery, the vital life force that animates your mind, your creativity, and your intuition. When this battery is full, you feel inspired, resilient, and deeply connected to the present moment. But this unseen reservoir is governed by strict laws of energetic exchange, laws that most of us are completely unaware of. When a battery drains faster than it charges, you do not blame the plastic casing holding the cells. You look for the short circuit. You look for the application quietly running in the background, consuming power without your knowledge. Your chronic fatigue is not a deficit of rest. It is the primary symptom of a continuous, unseen siphon on your life force. You are not failing to generate energy. You are losing it faster than you can create it. You are experiencing the reality of a leaking perimeter. Think about those days when you have no plans, when you sit quietly at home trying to recover. You do absolutely nothing, yet by evening, you feel completely emptied, hollowed out by a strange, numb exhaustion. You have not moved your muscles, but internally, a massive transfer of vitality has taken place. You feel a heavy fog settle over your mind, accompanied by a subtle detachment from your own desires and dreams. You are physically still, but energetically, you are bleeding out. It changes everything when you finally realize that your lack of drive is not a character flaw. For years, you may have harshly judged yourself, wondering why you cannot seem to summon the motivation that others display so easily. But what if your life force is simply being spent elsewhere, without your conscious knowledge? What if you are unknowingly financing an invisible debt, continuously paying out your vital currency to a source you cannot even see? The great paradox of this unseen drain is that trying to fight it with sheer willpower only accelerates the loss. Willpower requires the very energetic fuel you are currently bleeding out. The harder you force yourself to push through the invisible resistance, the more depleted you become, leading to a cycle of profound burnout. The leak is not in your muscles, and it is not in your work ethic. The leak is happening at a frequency just beyond your physical perception. If your energy is bleeding out, the immediate and most vital question becomes, where is it going? Energy cannot simply be destroyed. It only changes hands. If you are losing your vital force, someone or something else is collecting it. We live in a world that requires power to operate, and you might be surprised to learn that the modern mechanisms designed to harvest your hidden currency are operating right in front of your eyes. You pick up your phone to check a single message. 45 minutes later, you emerge from a blur of scrolling, blinking at the room around you. You feel slightly dizzy, emotionally flat, and entirely detached from the physical space you are sitting in. We brush this off as a bad habit, a simple waste of time. But if you sit quietly and feel the state of your body after one of these digital binges, you will notice a very specific sensation. You did not just waste time. You spent something much more valuable, and you are feeling the immediate aftermath of the extraction. We are constantly told that in the modern digital age, our attention is the product, sold to advertisers to predict our buying habits. This is the surface-level truth we accept, because it is rational and easily understood by the logical mind. But the profound psychological heaviness, the strange emotional numbness you feel after staring at a screen, suggests a transaction far deeper than mere marketing. You are not just looking at information. You are participating in a massive, unseen exchange. Ancient mystical traditions and esoteric schools have always guarded a single, terrifyingly simple principle. Where focus goes, energy flows. Your attention is not merely a cognitive function happening inside your brain. It is a highly directed, potent beam of your vital life force. It is the ultimate currency of human consciousness. Whenever you place your attention on something, you are literally feeding it with your own bioelectrical energy, transferring your vitality across space and time. The algorithms, the endless cascading feeds, the relentless breaking news cycles, these are not just businesses or platforms. They are highly sophisticated, engineered energetic harvesters. They are modern manifestations of an ancient practice designed to extract your focus and harvest the emotional resonance you generate. Systems are built to trigger your nervous system, keeping your biofield locked onto their grids, ensuring a steady flow of your life force into their architecture. Have you ever noticed how cold and unnervingly quiet the room feels after you finally put down a device? Have you noticed how your own goals, your passions, and the things you love suddenly seem distant, overwhelming, and difficult to reach? That is because the vital fuel required to manifest your own life, to build your own dreams, has just been siphoned off and fed into a collective machine. You have been emptied so that something else can remain full. It is a profound and deeply unsettling realization to understand that you are not just a consumer of modern media. You are the battery powering it. Without realizing it, you have been freely giving away the raw, vital material of your own destiny to fuel systems entirely outside of your control. That constant, buzzing exhaustion you feel at the end of the day is simply the energetic receipt of this invisible transaction. The brilliant, quiet trap of this system is that it creates the illusion of connection while actively isolating your spirit. It makes you feel like you are participating in the world, while quietly harvesting the unseen energy of your reactions, your outrage, your laughter, your fear. It gives you fleeting moments of dopamine in exchange for the deep, grounding resonance you actually need to create a meaningful, sovereign life. But this silent extraction does not only happen through glass screens and complex algorithms. The digital world is just the most modern layer of the harvest. There are older, far more personal pathways where your vitality is quietly drained away. Right now, there are invisible pipelines forming between you and the people you encounter every single day, silently pulling from your reserves long after they have left your presence. You know the feeling. You run into an old acquaintance at the grocery store, or you take a quick phone call from a coworker, or you spend half an hour listening to a family member complain about a recurring issue. The conversation ends, you say your goodbyes, and you walk away. But 10 minutes later, a sudden, heavy wave washes over you. You suddenly feel like you need a nap, your mood has shifted, and a subtle irritability has crept into your chest. The interaction is over, but the energetic transaction has just begun. Every interaction you have, no matter how brief or seemingly insignificant, is more than an exchange of words. When you engage with another consciousness, an invisible bridge is built between your biofields. You are not just speaking. You are connecting the energetic architecture of your subtle bodies. In a healthy dynamic, this bridge allows for a beautiful, equal flow of vitality, a mutual exchange that leaves both people feeling energized, seen, and uplifted. But not all dynamics are healthy. What happens when you interact with someone whose own internal battery is completely empty? Nature abhors a vacuum. When an energetically depleted person, whether chronically negative, deeply anxious, or unconsciously manipulative, focuses on you, they instinctually search for a source of vitality. Without even realizing they are doing it, they attach an invisible, etheric cord to your aura. They use your empathy, your active listening, and your emotional presence as the anchor point for this tether. The danger of these attachments is that they do not disappear the moment you walk out the door. These invisible cords can remain active long after the initial interaction, acting as unseen pipelines that continue to siphon your life force across time and space. Have you ever found yourself suddenly thinking about someone hours later, accompanied by a sharp drop in your mood or a sudden feeling of exhaustion? That is the exact moment the cord is pulling. The exact moment the parasite is feeding on your reserves. You might have spent years wondering why you feel so profoundly drained after spending time in certain environments or around specific people. You may have blamed yourself, thinking you are simply introverted or socially anxious. But this deep, cellular exhaustion is not social anxiety. It is the immediate, visceral symptom of being fed upon. Your physical body is perfectly fine, but your subtle body is bleeding out through a dozen invisible wounds. This realization forces a profound and often painful perspective shift. You begin to look back at certain relationships, friendships, romantic partnerships, even family ties, and see them not through the lens of psychology, but through the mechanics of energy. You realize that some of these connections have never truly been relationships. They have been long-term parasitic attachments. You have been unconsciously acting as the life support system for someone else's unhealed wounds. The cruelty of this dynamic is that it is often the most caring, open-hearted people who become the primary targets. Because you are willing to listen, because you genuinely want to help, you unknowingly broadcast a beacon that attracts those who need to feed. You offer your light to illuminate their darkness, but instead, they simply consume the fuel, leaving you sitting in the shadows, wondering why you feel so heavy. But why does your energy field allow these attachments to form in the first place? Why does your aura so easily give way, allowing these tethers to latch on and drain your vitality? The answer lies in the specific emotional states you are experiencing. There are certain frequencies, certain internal states of being that force your boundaries to dissolve, turning you into an open, bleeding target for the energies swirling around you. Think about a moment when you were suddenly overtaken by a wave of intense anger, perhaps sparked by a news headline, an unfair comment, or a sudden, unexpected conflict. Remember the physical sensation that accompanied it, the heat rising in your chest, the rapid beating of your heart, the feeling of your awareness suddenly expanding and scattering outward. You probably felt powerful in that fleeting second of righteous indignation. But recall how you felt an hour later, hollowed out, shaky, and deeply fatigued. We tend to view emotions simply as internal weather, passing storms of feeling that happen entirely within our own psychology. But esoteric wisdom understands emotion as entirely different. Emotion is energy in motion. It is the direct manipulation of your vital life force. Different emotional states vibrate at different frequencies, and these frequencies physically alter the shape, density, and protective capability of your subtle energy field. When you are anchored in deep peace, gratitude, or quiet joy, your biofield is dense, compact, and highly resilient. It acts as an impenetrable shield. But low-frequency emotions, such as chronic anxiety, Manufactured fear, resentment, and outrage have the opposite effect. These heavy vibrations cause your energetic boundaries to become porous, erratic, and highly unstable. They force your aura to expand and literally bleed your life force out into the surrounding ether. This is the hidden mechanics of being triggered. It is not just a psychological reaction. It is a forced energetic hemorrhage. And once you understand this mechanism, you begin to view the modern world through an entirely new, almost terrifying lens. You realize that the relentless broadcasting of crisis, the algorithms pushing divisive content, and the constant drumbeat of fear are not accidental. They are engineered emotional architectures designed specifically to keep your biofield in a constant state of rupture. Have you noticed how difficult it is to focus on your own life, your own quiet purpose, when you are constantly vibrating with anxiety about things you cannot control? This is the invisible strategy at play. If you can be kept in a perpetual state of low-grade fear or righteous outrage, your vital energy is continuously spilled outward, leaving you with absolutely nothing left to build your own sovereign reality. You are kept weak by being kept angry. It is a profound realization to understand that your outrage is not changing the world. It is only feeding the invisible structures that benefit from your exhaustion. Every time you allow an external force to dictate your internal emotional state, you are participating in your own energetic depletion. You are opening the vault and allowing the thieves to walk out with your most precious currency, simply because they knew exactly which emotional buttons to press. This perspective shift requires a radical form of emotional maturity. It asks you to stop viewing your reactions as inevitable and start seeing them as the vulnerabilities through which you are being siphoned. The heavy fatigue you feel after a day of scrolling through bad news or engaging in petty arguments is not just mental fatigue. It is the physical sensation of having your vibration hijacked and your energy harvested. But the most uncomfortable truth is yet to come. The external world, the algorithms, the energy vampires, they can only trigger the mechanism. They cannot actually take anything from you without a hidden, underlying mechanism that you yourself are participating in. There is an ancient, fundamental rule of energy exchange that dictates exactly how and why this extraction is allowed to happen. And you have been unknowingly following it your entire life. Think of the countless times you have said yes when every cell in your body was silently screaming no. You commit to a favor, attend a gathering, or stay on a phone call out of a deep, uncomfortable sense of obligation. Afterward, you feel a profound, hollow exhaustion. You usually blame the other person for demanding too much of your time. But the truth behind that specific, heavy fatigue is much harder to look at because it points directly back to you. From childhood, you are conditioned to believe that self-sacrifice is the ultimate measure of a good person. You are taught to swallow your discomfort, to be accommodating, and to place the needs of others above your own vital reserves. This psychological conditioning creates a deeply ingrained habit of guilt. Whenever you attempt to set a boundary, that guilt flares up, convincing you that protecting your energy is somehow a selfish, unethical act that makes you a bad friend or a poor partner. But beneath this social programming lies one of the most immutable laws of the unseen world, the law of consent. In the mechanics of energy, no force, no matter how parasitic, can siphon your life force without your permission. Your biofield is inherently sovereign. For an energetic extraction to occur, there must be a bridge formed between two people, and that bridge can only be lowered from the inside. You must somehow agree to the transaction. This brings us to the terrifying reality of phantom contracts. These are the unconscious, unspoken agreements you make every single day. When you listen to a toxic rant out of politeness, you are signing a phantom contract. When you swallow your truth to keep the peace, you are signing another. These invisible signatures bypass your conscious mind, granting immediate access to your vital reserves under the guise of duty and social grace. It is a shattering emotional realization to suddenly understand that your energy is not being stolen, it is being surrendered. The vampires and parasitic dynamics in your life are not overpowering your defenses. They are simply walking through the front door, because you left it wide open. You have been paying an invisible tax, not because you were conquered by a stronger force, but because a hidden sense of unworthiness convinced you that you owed the debt. This shift in perspective fundamentally alters how you view your own exhaustion. You are no longer the helpless victim of a demanding world. You are the architect of your own energetic leakage. Every time you allow guilt to override your intuition, you draft a new contract. You willingly hand over the keys to your internal kingdom, allowing external forces to mine your vitality, all while convincing yourself you are simply doing the right thing. The invisible weight you carry is the combined mass of 1,000 uncancelled agreements. They sit in your field, draining your battery quietly in the background, anchoring you to people and situations that no longer serve your evolution. Revoking these contracts is the only way to plug the leak, but it requires confronting the deep-seated illusion that you are responsible for the emotional comfort of everyone around you. Yet, there is one specific phantom contract that is incredibly difficult to break because it perfectly mimics our highest ideals. It is a trap so subtle, so deeply woven into modern psychology and spiritual thinking, that it catches the most kind-hearted individuals. What happens when your energetic drain is not disguised as a burden of obligation, but is instead celebrated as the highest form of human connection? You have likely experienced the strange phenomenon of walking into a room and immediately feeling a shift in your own internal weather. Someone nearby is quietly carrying a heavy sadness or a suppressed anger, and within minutes, you feel that exact same heaviness settling into your own chest. You walk away from the encounter feeling incredibly drained, carrying a dark, lingering mood that you know, on some level, does not actually belong to you. Modern psychology and popular culture often glorify this trait, labeling it as being an empath. We are taught that limitless empathy is a profound gift, a superpower of emotional intelligence. The narrative suggests that deeply feeling the pain of others is the ultimate sign of a highly evolved, compassionate human being. So, you lean into it, proudly identifying with your ability to absorb the emotional turbulence of the world around you. But ancient esoteric wisdom offers a stark, chilling warning about this exact dynamic. What modern society celebrates as deep empathy is often just the dangerous trap of the psychic sponge. There is a massive difference between true, sovereign compassion and the destructive habit of unconsciously absorbing the unhealed frequencies and heavy vibrations of others. One heals the environment, while the other slowly destroys your energetic architecture. When you act as a psychic sponge, you are literally pulling the toxic, stagnant energy of another person's trauma directly into your own biofield. You force your own spiritual battery to process their grief, their anxiety, and their chaos. Your system has to burn massive amounts of your vital life force just to digest and clear this foreign debris. This is exactly why you feel entirely depleted after trying to help a friend through a crisis. The most heartbreaking emotional realization is understanding that carrying another person's pain does not actually heal them. You have been sacrificing your own vitality, thinking you were lightening their load, but in reality, you were only anchoring yourself to their suffering. You have been bleeding out your precious life force for an illusion, rendering yourself too exhausted to actually be of any real service to anyone, including yourself. A profound shift in perspective occurs when you realize that true compassion requires boundaries. It is the ability to stand firmly on the shore and throw a lifeline to someone drowning, rather than jumping into the chaotic waters and drowning alongside them. Sovereign empathy means witnessing the pain of another with a fully open heart, while maintaining an impenetrable, glassy seal around your own energy field. If you do not learn to differentiate between witnessing and absorbing, you will spend your entire life functioning as an etheric filtration system for other people's unresolved garbage. You will forever wonder why your own dreams remain unfulfilled, not realizing that your creative energy is being entirely consumed by the endless task of metabolizing the heavy, discordant frequencies you constantly invite into your space. Once you recognize this trap, you can begin to stop absorbing the chaotic emotions of the people around you. You start to pull back your tendrils and protect your core. But even as you detach from the human vampires and close the phantom contracts, you might find that the heavy fatigue still lingers. What if the drain is not coming from a person at all, but from the invisible architecture of the very room you are sitting in right now? Think of the moment you step inside a large, windowless retail store or a modern office building. The air feels artificially still, and a low, almost imperceptible hum vibrates from the fluorescent lights above. Within 10 minutes, a very specific kind of brain fog settles over you, making your eyes feel heavy and your thoughts sluggish. You usually write this off as simple boredom or a lack of interest in being there. But pay close attention to your body. You are feeling the physical weight of an invisible friction. We are taught to view the spaces we inhabit as neutral, empty containers where life simply happens. When you feel drained in these environments, your immediate psychological response is to blame yourself. You assume you did not sleep enough, or you drank too much coffee, or you are simply not resilient enough to handle a normal workday. It rarely crosses your mind that the architecture of the room itself is actively working against your natural biological rhythm. But esoteric observers have long understood a hidden truth. There is no such thing as empty space. Every environment possesses its own geometric resonance and electromagnetic signature, which constantly interacts with your personal consciousness. The organic human biofield evolved in harmony with the chaotic, flowing, fractal patterns of nature. When you place that fluid energy field into a rigid, synthetic box, an immediate and invisible clash of frequencies occurs. Modern life forces us to inhabit dead spaces. These are environments constructed entirely of sharp right angles, synthetic lighting that pulses at unnatural speeds, and an overwhelming density of wireless signals. These are not just aesthetic choices. They are chaotic, discordant frequencies that barrage your subtle body without pause. Your energy field does not recognize these environments as safe, so it instantly goes into a state of high alert. Just as your physical body must burn extra calories to maintain its core temperature in freezing weather, your subtle body must burn massive amounts of vital energy just to maintain its equilibrium in a dead space. You are not exhausted because of the work you are doing. You are exhausted because your biofield is constantly fighting to hold its shape. The heavy lethargy you feel is the energetic cost of surviving an environment entirely devoid of life force. It is a quiet, emotional realization when you look back and see how much of your life has been spent simply trying to survive the buildings you were forced to sit in. You realize that the lack of inspiration, the chronic fatigue, and the deep feeling of disconnection were never personal failures. They were the natural biological reactions to living in a world designed for maximum efficiency rather than human vitality. This shift in perspective transforms how you walk through the modern world. You stop viewing your sudden mood drops or bouts of brain fog as random chemical imbalances. You begin to sense the invisible grid of the city, the synthetic buzz of the spaces you navigate, and you recognize them for what they truly are: passive extraction zones. You see how much of your daily exhaustion is simply the friction of moving through an artificial reality. But knowing this presents a difficult and immediate paradox. You cannot simply abandon the modern world, retreat into the deep woods, and avoid every synthetic environment, screen, or difficult person. You must continue to navigate this complex, draining architecture every single day. If the environment itself is a continuous siphon, and the modern world demands your presence, how do you move through it without being entirely consumed? You have reached a crucial threshold. You now see the hidden architecture of the drain, the digital harvesters, the parasitic attachments, the phantom contracts, and the dead spaces. The immediate instinct, once you realize you are being hunted for your vitality, is to fight back. You want to build walls, loudly declare your boundaries, argue with the vampires, and forcefully push the heavy frequencies away. But fighting requires friction, and friction requires energy. One of the deepest psychological traps we fall into is believing that sovereignty requires conflict. We think that protecting our energy means constantly defending it, maintaining a rigid, hyper-vigilant posture against the world. But if you are constantly bracing for an energetic attack, you are still allowing the external environment to control your internal state. The tension of holding a shield is just another way of bleeding out your vital reserves. The hidden truth of the ancient mystics is that true protection is entirely silent. It does not look like a fortress. It looks like water. The ultimate esoteric defense is not to fight the parasitic forces, but to become completely invisible to them. This is the practice of the alchemical seal. It is a profound internal mechanism where you consciously retract your unseen tendrils and drop all energetic resonance with the things that wish to feed on you. Think of a time when someone tried to drag you into a bitter, familiar argument, and for the very first time, you simply did not care. You did not get angry, you did not defend yourself, and you did not try to fix them. You just observed them with quiet detachment. Do you remember the sudden, profound rush of power that pooled in your chest at that exact moment? That was the alchemical seal in action. You closed the door, and the vampire starved in plain sight. Sealing your aura is the conscious act of revoking all consent. It is the silent, internal declaration that you will no longer finance the chaos of the outside world with your own vital currency. You stop engaging with the engineered outrage. You stop absorbing the unhealed trauma of others. You walk through the fluorescent, dead spaces of the modern world completely contained, a closed circuit of sovereign light moving through a landscape of extraction. This requires a profound and sometimes lonely perspective shift. You have to grieve the illusion that you can save everyone, and you must let go of the deep-seated guilt that tells you your energy belongs to the world. You transition from being a perpetual victim of unseen forces to the absolute master of your own subtle architecture. You realize that your life force is a sacred resource, and you finally decide to keep it entirely for yourself. It is a beautiful, emotional realization when the heavy, chronic exhaustion finally begins to lift. You realize that you were never broken, never lazy, and never lacking in potential. You were simply a magnificent, powerful battery powering everything but your own destiny. As you pull your energy back from the digital grids, the phantom contracts, and the psychic sponges, a deep, quiet peace begins to settle into your bones. But as the leaks are finally sealed, a strange and magnificent tension begins to build inside you. For the first time in years, your vital life force is no longer draining out into the ether. It is accumulating, rising higher within your contained vessel. The exhaustion vanishes, replaced by an unfamiliar, potent vibration humming just beneath your skin. And as this forgotten power finally wakes up, you are faced with the most important mystery of all. You have lived for so long with the heavy, quiet illusion that your deep exhaustion was a personal failure. But as you look back over the landscape of your life, you can finally see the unseen architecture that has been silently siphoning your vitality. The digital harvesters, the phantom contracts, the parasitic attachments, and the dead spaces were all designed to keep your biofield empty, because a fully charged, energetically sovereign human being is a force that cannot be controlled. You are no longer asleep to this reality. By simply recognizing these invisible mechanisms, you have already begun the profound alchemical process of taking your power back. You are not broken, you are not weak, and you are no longer a passive battery for a world that feeds on your light. As you learn to seal your aura and consciously revoke your unspoken consent, that deep, hollow fatigue will begin to lift, replaced by a quiet, unshakable power rising from within. You are about to discover what you are truly capable of when your vital life force belongs entirely to you. If this message arrived at the exact moment you needed to hear it, leave the word sovereign in the comments below, so I know who is waking up alongside us. Like this video to seal your intention, and subscribe to continue uncovering the hidden patterns shaping our reality. The invisible drain is finally closed, and your true journey is just beginning.